Is your life meaningful? A number of years ago, 4 to be exact, I was sitting in an airport traveling from Indianapolis to California. The purpose of my trip was my second daughter, I have 4 daughters, and my second daughter had just died. Sheila was 31 years old and she died of breast cancer, and she left 2 little children. And as I sat in the airport, a grieving father, waiting for my flight, the thought struck me that what was really important is that my daughter's life mattered. And then as I pondered that, it became apparent to me that we all want our lives to matter. I think it's a central thing that drives us. We want to know that we are loved by others. We want to know that we're not just anonymous, that we're not irrelevant. We want to know that we have meaning. And that means we have to have a life full of meaning. And as I've pondered that question more and more, I've thought about it. What does it take to have a meaningful life? What does it take to have a heart that's fully satisfied? A purpose, a drive, a sense of when you get up, of excitement, that you know you have a purpose for your life and it's full of meaning. I believe that this matters to everybody, and that what we do is we go about filling our lives with things to make us feel like our life is full of meaning. But if it's not the right things, it's really not. Someone once said, a lie, or a noble lie, no matter how noble the lie is, it's still false. So if you're telling yourself your life is meaningful for false reasons, it's still meaningless. For instance, if you've filled your life up with career, and if that's a false reason for living, after all, once you die and dead, what did your career really do? Then it's not really truly meaningful. Although you may have felt it was meaningful in the moment, ultimately it's not. Or if you're living for money or games and hobbies, if it's about NASCAR or anything, if it's not the true purpose of life, then it becomes meaningless. I believe there's two and only 2 fundamental conditions. As I've pondered this, I've thought about this a lot. And bear with me, because I think that this makes sense. Number 1, for us to have a truly meaningful life, the first condition is there must be God, a all-powerful being, something that's an intelligence that's beyond us, something bigger than us. And the reason I say that is because if God does not exist, the alternative is it's just matter, motion, chemistry, and electromagnetism. You know, my friend says, then it's just matter, motion, and chemistry. It's just random events. In other words, everything is the result of an accident. And an accident isn't meaningful. An accident, in fact, by definition, it's just a happening. It's just a something that collides and comes together. And so for us to truly, for life to have true purpose and meaning, it has to be more than just physical matter. And as I said, no matter how many times people try to promote that this is just a randomness and we're just the circumstances of chemistry and matter and motion and electrical activities coming together, if that's all there is, then that's meaningless. So that lie is a noble lie. The other condition that I believe is necessary is what I call immortality. In other words, life must go beyond our physical life, because after all, even if God does exist, or an all-powerful whatever you want to call it, then if life ceases when you die, ultimately everything you did actually was meaningless because you're dead, you're gone. Your short lifespan, whether it be 30 years like my daughter or 100 years like some people, no matter how long that is, even if it was 1,000 years, if when you die you cease to exist, then your life ultimately in the grand scheme of things is meaningless. So in this class, my intent is to look at the evidence and see if in fact there is enough evidence to demonstrate, to satisfy us that God does exist and that there can be the possibility of immortality. And the way that I'm going to do that is we're going to look at not necessarily every evidence for God to exist, and I'm not going to overwhelm, but I'm going to look at what are the 3 most common reasons that people typically reject a belief in an all-powerful being, a creator, a God, whatever you want to call them, and also why there is enough significant evidence to indicate that life can go beyond your present physical life, that life does exist beyond the physical realm. So I invite you, if that sounds interesting to you, and if you truly want to develop answers to some of these, which I think are the most important questions in life, then I invite you to continue with me as we journey. Part 1 is we're going to look at the evidence of God, and part 2, we're going to look at the reasons why there's significant evidence, in my opinion, for immortality. And if you do that, I believe, then we can have a life full of meaning, or a meaningful life.